Welcome to Ready, Set, Real Estate, where we will help empower and educate you on many different aspects of real estate, finance, and investing. Each week, we will expand your knowledge and uncover hidden truths. We will break down real-world scenarios and study actual how-to strategies. Anyone can buy real estate, but together we'll ensure you make smart real estate investment decisions. Now, here's your host, award-winning author, international speaker, and real estate educator, Lisa Gillett.
Happy Wednesday. Let me turn my light on. Happy Wednesday. Trust you are all well. I feel like my camera is like a little wonky. All right. We are back to another information-packed episode. I had this idea last week when we were talking about, what were we talking about last week? We were talking about mom and pop landlords cashing out. And what came across my mind was how they are in a vulnerable place and probably an ideal target for fraudsters to rob them out of their equity. So I decided last week when we ended that show that we will talk about assignment deals. I know. Some of you are like, okay, Lisa, be nice. I will be nice because some of you have done well and have made your money in flipping contracts by way of assignment, because that's what they are. And you're flipping the contract, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I won't get too much. I probably will. I'm probably just going to put it all out there today. I do have slides for us today, so we are going to be doing it in classroom style. We'll do today's segment as a classroom style session. Be sure you've got your pen, your papers. You're like, Lisa, it's 2026. No one takes notes anymore. We all just do screen grabs and screenshots. That's fine. And if you're tuning in on the radio podcast, thanks for tuning in with us and staying connected, loyal, true, engaging with us. This has really been so much fun as I start to think about show concepts and show topics. I'm getting tons of solicitations from folks who would like to be on the show, who are interested in being on the show. And I'll go through those. I promise I will go through those. I have just been off due to studying and school and bar prep that I wanted to just come on and just be the voice catching up with what's happened in the last couple months and really recapping or summarizing what's happened over the last couple years. And then we'll roll into show guests, because I've been thinking about having Evan Jefferson of ERGJ from Black Billionaires Club. I'm thinking about having Evan come on and talk about finances, financial investing. He still has a club going on. And so a lot of you have asked, what other avenues can you invest in real estate, in invest? So I think this would be a great opportunity to share the platform with someone that I definitely support and has tons of knowledge. So Evan came to mind. There's some other folks that popped in my mind. I'm like, you know what? We need to get them back on the show so they can revisit some of these topics with you all, especially given we're at tax season right now. It's April. It's about that time. Okay. So episode 268, assignment deals. Who is the real buyer? That is today's show. However, before I get into that, let's just get into housekeeping. Let's talk about those quarterly goals. We are in second quarter, not too far into second quarter. So we've got an opportunity. You've just started, which is great. And write down those goals. I've done my desk calendar. I am late. I'm about 7 days late in doing my desk calendar, but I feel really good after having done it. In prior years, I've mapped out the whole year on my calendar, and it does something tremendous. It does something so powerful if you can map out the entire month in advance. And I know, folks say, man plans, God laughs, right? In this instance, it helps give you some focus or direction in terms of what you are seeking. So if it's saving for down payments, then start to put away, start to get into the habit of saving, and you set that goal for yourself. If it's $10, $20, $100, or saving the change when you buy something, save the change. I know you're like, Lisa, no one uses cash anymore. We're just swiping all day long. Swipe, swipe, swipe. That is probably one of the problems with saving, is because it's too easy to tap, right? Using this little thing here, you tap your phone, you've got your wallet on your phone, you just tap, 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 tap. But I'm sure there are some creative ways in banking. I know there's been some platforms that allows you to save the change, automatically save the change. You round up and then you save the change into a savings account. I did that a couple years ago. I thought that was pretty cool. Something I was playing out around with many years ago already. But there's different things you can do. So that's in terms of saving. If it's credit building, then start to access your credit reports. Start there. Look at the debt. Open the mail. I know when you're in a tough spot. I know when you don't want to face the music. You don't want to face the D word, DEBT, the debt. You tend to be avoidant of the bills. You attack it one by one, and I promise you, you can recover and you can come on out on top. You just have to face it bite by bite. How do you eat an elephant? African proverb, piece by piece. Although no elephants are harmed in the quoting of this proverb. What else? So we talked about savings, coming up with a plan, doing it in ways that you can manage it. That's the important thing with any big goal, is doing it in a way that you can manage it. Make it manageable for yourself. It doesn't have to be this big giant, I'm out to achieve this. Small, incremental, manageable pieces, because your brain will automatically reject doing it. Annualcreditreport.com. We've talked about that. Make sure you go visit the website, annualcreditreport.com. That way you are reviewing what's on your credit report. You gain access to it. It's free, and you don't you don't have to pay or buy anything. Okay. What else? Earnings. There's really nothing I can do to help you earn more other than you exploring your skill sets or taking some courses to improve your skill set to gain more and earn more. That's something that I have used COVID for myself. That time in COVID lockdown, it really sparked an interest or curiosity within myself as something I wanted to do since I was a child, and that was pursue becoming a lawyer. So I'm in that. You have watched me over the last 4 years go through the motion of pursuing my law degree. I graduated last year, and then now, sitting for the bar, waiting for results. And that's kind of where we are with quarterly goals. If you need a vacation, make sure you schedule it. I've got a vacation coming up, family vacation coming up. Woohoo! Excited. Also, let me see what else is happening. I am getting ready to book the 5K. So jumping back on our 5K marathons. I know people are like, that's not a marathon. It's a marathon to me. Okay. It's a 5K. And those are usually fun because you connect with other people who have interest in running and making it a lifestyle. You can walk, run, just at your own pace. That's the beautiful thing about marathons. It's really, you are competing with yourself. right, what's happening in the mind, your mental, and it's really fun, really, really fun. Okay, so that's pretty much what's going on for quarterly goals. I think we're off to a great start for 2026. I know it's been pretty rocky, bumpy on the global, on the political, economic, socioeconomic, political, geopolitical environment out there. I'm throwing all those out there because, yeah, there's a lot going on in society, in politics, in the economy. However, right, let's work on what's happening in the inner world, and that takes care of the outer world. That takes care of the noise happening in the outer world. Focus on the inner world, and everything else on the outer world is going to start to align. And that's what we've done. You know, when we hear crisis, when we hear war rates are high, all this going on. Entrepreneurship will definitely fine tune you as a person because it requires a lot of personal and professional development for you to really tune into your God self, all your inner energy to be able to execute this thing called entrepreneurship or running a business or earning income for yourself or creating income. It is a space and a place for you to co-create without limitations, but in the whole time you're working out all the self-imposed limitations. That's one of the things my husband and I have been talking about these last week, has been about self-imposed limitations and breaking through that. We've recently broken through that self-imposed limitation, and it's been really cool to know that I made it. So here's the thing about mental agreement. I'm going to go completely on this tangent, but it's totally related. Okay, it's totally related to all this stuff. Here's this thing about, I recall a couple years ago, and when I first got into real estate, that's 2006, and in my mind, I did not see that it was possible, practical to be quote unquote successful in a short period of time. My mind, I made a mental agreement that it would take X amount of years. However, if I was on this journey on doing the inner work, I could have collapsed the wave very early on. In essentially, it wouldn't have to take many years to become successful, but it could have taken me months to within the first year. As you hear rookie of the year, right? Those folks who come out and they're just coming out and they have goals and they execute those goals. They don't have self-imposed limitations. I came in with self-imposed limitations. I came in with a whole bunch. I had some baggage. I had some baggage, but I fell forward and I continue to fall forward in what I'm doing, and I continue to learn and I grow and I share. And that's what this is here, is my voice to share what I'm learning with you. And if you are someone who is a fast learner and a quick study, you can save yourself the heartache and the expenses, right? Kyle said to me the other day, so far, I've got a record of having spent over $5,000 on something I did not use in marketing. How many of you have done that? If you're in business, yes, you go, oh, this is the answer. This is the system that's going to help me catapult. And I believe I dropped $5,200 on it, 5,200 and some change on it. And I did not even use it. So I have not been able to live that down. We're not going to let go of that. It's a great reminder of when I do think about, oh, this is the answer. This is what I need to do. I now make sure I'm not leading from a place of impulse. Does this make sense? Have I researched it? Why do I think this is the answer? That whole thing. Anyway, as we talk about quarterly goals, see what it takes. This is checking in on quarterly goals. Okay. Shout out to those of you who are tuning in on Instagram, on the Insta. We'll be right back. So like I said, we'll do classroom style today for episode 268. Assignment deals. Who is the real buyer? We'll be right back after this sponsor break. Who is our episode sponsor today? Oh, very nice. Very nice. So Real Estate 100. yeah, we've been doing really well on the Real Estate 100 book series. So make sure you check us out. Okay. We'll be right back. That reminds me too. I was thinking about bringing Anthony Lee, broker, franchise owner of a real estate company out in Pennsylvania and Philly. I think he serves the DMV area. He is the co-author of Real Estate 100, the Teen and Millennial Investment Blueprint. I'm excited because I have some stuff working and cooking. I'm getting close to the summer. I do have a summer deadline to publish the next series of our Real Estate 100 book series. Really excited about that. What else? You know what? And I also, while we're doing this and we're talking about Real Estate 100, let me go to the website real quick and introduce you to, let me just do a quick screen share. So let's just do this. Let's share the Real Estate 100 website and remind folks what kind of started the movement of super agent. So the Real Estate 100, the Teen Home Buying Experience, is part one of that book series, and it introduces real estate literacy. In fact, thank you for now reminding me that I do need to update. So I guess I got to figure out, do we want to discontinue the original book? I that's going to make that book skyrocket in pricing and its value. If you have the original Real Estate 100 book, that's going to be worth a nice little amount of money because it's the first real estate book in the country introducing real estate to young folks. And what we've created online is the e-course. So check out realestate100.net. I want to just remind you all that realestate100.net. Totally. It's like, oh yeah. Here we go. Make sure you check out realestate100.net. This is our website. This is the official website for the movement, for the book. And hey, Kay Morris, thanks for joining us on IG. And this is where you can sign up for the e-course, okay, and start your journey in real estate literacy. What we will do is definitely update that because things have definitely changed. I'm really excited about those new changes. And what has changed has been the commissions, how we deal and negotiate, present, discuss commissions. It's not now upfront, it's part of the negotiation, and it's no longer what it used to be. And there's a whole history, and I think I'll save that for the e-course as I jump in and I break that down as how we got to where we are today. And it's important for folks to understand that. So let me just share with you about the website. So here we've done past collaborations and boot camps with our nonprofit partners. We came in as an independent contractor. We worked with Vermont Slauson Development Economic Corporation, the Best Buy Teen Tech Center in South LA. We worked alongside Pure Hearts or Us Housing Agency. We worked with the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers Conference. We also presented for the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. We started with ERGJ Teen Vest online. And in fact, Evan and I were joking about that the other day. And with youth, we also then traveled to New Jersey and presented for the United Youth of New Jersey. And then we also partnered with Youth United here in Inglewood, a nonprofit organization as well, and we brought the real estate literacy to them. So if you are interested, you see there's this become a partner, connect with us, and let's definitely get something going. We will be bringing back, I'm fine tuning some things on the boot camp because I want to add a legal component to it as it relates to probates and trusts. So we will be bringing the Real Estate Youth Boot Camp back. And as you can see, it's all about motivating our students and providing them with techniques that help them produce positive results in their everyday lives and vocations. If you've ever attended one of our life boot camps, you know I bring it. You know I interject some real life techniques that they'll forever use. We cover social entrepreneurship, so students explore careers that are integral to this $1 trillion real estate industry on a global scale. So what that means that everything around us is real estate, right? Where you grocery shop, where you live, gas stations, amusement parks, the libraries. We can go on and on and on, right? So that's what we unpack and uncover for folks, for our youth to realize that the world around them is real estate, and real estate makes the world go round. You can believe and think what you want, but I'm going to be biased in this sense because I see it everywhere I am. And of course, we cover the financial education component where students learn real estate basics, how to purchase, financing, and escrow terms and concepts. So definitely, if you are interested, sign up, get yourself added to the list. So far, it's going to be local. It's got to be local to me. And that's because I am going to head the boot camp. And like I said, we are going to be adding a legal component to that helps us cover and introduce probates and trust sales in a real life setting. And of course, if you're interested in investing, I suggest you buy the book, learn more about house hacking and basics to investing in multifamily property with the next book in the series, which is the Teen and Millennial Investment Blueprint, co-authored by real estate investor and real estate veteran Anthony Lee. So you can buy the book directly from the website, and that should cover it. And of course, you've got info about me and listening to our podcast. So make sure you subscribe. Essentially, the podcast has been a way for us to communicate our mission. We restructured from a nonprofit, and we just decided to set it up differently so that we can do more. And we allow the nonprofits, those who are in the nonprofit space, to do what they do very well. And we come in as a independent contractor, a partner to bring on our real estate literacy program. All right, so that's good. This is the first time in a long time that I've talked about Real Estate 100, and I think it's timely. It's a good time for us to catch up. Okay, let's get into nitty-gritty stuff. Disclaimers. Information provided on this show should not be considered legal or tax advice. Please seek legal and tax advice from those reputable licensed professionals, all right? Make sure you reach out. Now, if you want to reach out to me specifically and you say, hey, I've got a situation, then yes, I can consult you and provide some advice and my recommendation. I can help you. For those of you who are new to me, my name is Lisa Gillett. Welcome to the show, also known as Super Agent, broker owner of a boutique firm here based in SoCal, Devenio Estates, but we serve all California. We just assisted a client and family up in North California. That was a really great experience. And again, you may know someone who's an inheritor, successor in interest. You may be local to one community, but the property is located somewhere else. We can help and we can assist, okay? I'm also a pricing strategy advisor, short sales and foreclosure certified, senior real estate specialist, expert negotiator, like all that. I can go on and on my designations and my experience and education, certification. All that means in a nutshell, including my law degree, is that I enjoy learning, and it's so that I can continue to increase my value, my expertise, and my knowledge so that you all can make informed decisions when you jump into this arena called real estate. Fair? Fair. I like it. I like it. If I like it, you love it. If I love it, you like it. All right. So here we're talking about assignment deals. Who is the real buyer? Anyone by show of hands have been in a situation where you thought you were negotiating or talking to someone and you later learned that they were not the person who was the person that was going to benefit from the transaction or that discussion or that conversation? That's what we see happen in assignment deals. Now, assignment deals are totally legit. They are totally legit. It gets slippery when the intent is not clear or transparent. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because, you know, last quarter or last year and last quarter, we've come across this a couple of times. So we work with a lot of investors and a lot of developers. Because of the nature of our properties, and we've been fortunate, the properties that we come across and that we're assisting in selling are on large lots. They're R2, R4, which means you can build on these properties. We had a phenomenal lot that was upwards of 10,000 square feet in Los Angeles. And we were inundated with so many investors. I mean, from all over the country, honestly, all over the country. And with that comes people who are not being forthcoming and not truthful, right? Not really representing their interest or their intent. So before I jump into that, let me step back and let's talk about the assignment types. What are the assignment types? There are many variations of these that I've provided here on the slide. For those of you who are listening on the radio podcast, you have an assignment from, meaning a buyer who's an individual is assigning. What does that mean? They are transferring their interest in that contract to purchase property. And assignment can be in anything. You can assign a car, you can assign a house, you can assign intellectual property. We recently did an assignment deal. I was restructuring the business, and so I assigned the trademark from one entity to another entity. So that's an example of an assignment. Totally legit, nothing wrong with it. But it does take some paperwork and to make it official, right? You're giving up your rights, any rights and interests that you have in something. In this case, let's say real estate, the real property in the house. We'll talk about house, right? In the home. You're buying a home. You as an individual decide that you want to have that property owned by your personal trust. Well, that's great. You can assign that. Now, what I'm talking about is during the escrow process. This is before closing. Now, if you close and you already own the property and this is something you want to do after the fact, it's not necessarily an assignment. It's a type of assignment, but it's referred to something else. And consult an attorney, an estate planning attorney, before you start messing with stuff on your title, okay? Please consult an expert. Oh my gosh. All right. Individual to personal trust. You can do individual to an LLC. You can do individual to a corporation, or it can be an LLC to another LLC, or an LLC to a corporation, or a corporation to an LLC, a trust to an LLC, a trust to a corporation. So you get it, right? There's so many variations of assignments or types of assignments. The key thing is to be paying attention to the language on the assignment and what is happening. Oftentimes, sellers are not aware of straw buyer, when a straw buyer is in the mix here. And I like to talk about the ugly stuff in the business. If you want the perfect real estate stuff, you can probably keep watching HGTV for that. That's not really why we do the show. We do the show to talk about how people get screwed in the process of selling and buying real estate when folks are taking advantage or intend to take advantage or commit fraud. So a straw buyer is also known as a dummy buyer, and we're talking about our assignments here is what we're covering today. They are a buyer who purchased property for someone else. So they are masking the true buyer, meaning the straw buyer has no intent on occupying the property, meaning they don't intend on living in the home. They apply for the mortgage, but they don't intend on paying towards the mortgage. And you'll see this come up and this is one of the things why I ask when I deal with investors, I ask for a current, let's see, credit line or proof of funds. Investors, developers, they will use a letter of intent from a lender or they will have a credit line. I want to see a most recently dated credit line. And I pay close attention when they say, oh, investors, that is, oh, we've got something in escrow down the street, and we've got another project going on over here, and we've got this going on over here. You know what I hear? I don't necessarily hear that you're active. Active is great. What I hear is the likelihood of you getting more money from the lender or from your line of credit to purchase our listing or my client's property. That's when I take a step back and I say, got it. You've got a lot going on. I need to make sure that you've got enough on a credit line to make this deal happen because there is such a thing as being maxed. You're highly leveraged, is the phrase. When you owe too much, you've borrowed so much and you've not repaid or paid down the debt that you borrowed in your real estate investing or flipping business. Now, this is again within the context of assignment deals. Now, when a seller is being told we're buying cash, we'll close in 15 days, they're being told all the sweet stuff. It sounds so sweet. Oh, so good. And we had this particular deal we were in last year, fourth quarter. If you've heard me talk about this deal offline, I was screaming to get out of this deal. And it was an opportunity for me to connect with an investor. I work regularly with a handful of investors. This one was a new one in particular. So I pitched a property. It was an off-market property, great property. I pitched it to find out, if any of my investors were interested in purchasing it off-market, just putting a deal together, normal day in business. And everyone had their numbers. So they'd run their numbers and they say, Lisa, this is the max we're willing to pay. And you've got to be clear when as a seller that you are selling to an investor and or a developer, there's got to be enough skin in there for them to make a profit and some. I think there's a way to do that in fairness and in good business. I've unfortunately seen, not with my involvement or by my involvement, some people take a significant amount of equity from sellers who believe they got a good deal. And hey, if they believe they got a good deal, who am I to say otherwise, right? They may have some other things going on, and that creates an urgency or creates a deep discount against the value of their property. However, it's important to recognize when an assignment deal is happening, and in the example of this transaction we were involved in, the buyer came in and presented that they were interested. Now, what was interesting for me is I knew their numbers were high. I knew that they probably would have to have a different exit strategy in order to make the acquisition price work. That means the price they were paying to acquire the property. I knew they would have to do a different exit strategy, because flipping it at that price would just not make sense. Would not make sense. Anywho, the buyer puts in their deposit, and once we open escrow, there's talks of, oh, we've got another deal going on, and my partner is going to wire his deposit and I'm going to pull my money out. And in that process, my partner is also going to be added to the contract. We're going to go ahead and add him because he's the one that's going to close the deal. He's the one that has the funding lined up. And I'm like, what? So you put in money, and you want to take your money out, and you want somebody else to put in their money, and then you want to add them to the contract, but you want to take yourself off the contract. That sure does sound like an assignment. I have no problem if people were just upfront with me. Then we know how to move. We know how to structure the deal. Like I said, there are legitimate ways that you can structure an assignment deal. When you work with a professional like myself, transparency is key. You're not going to be able to pull the okey doke over us. No. And if you do, you've done a great job at committing fraud or some type of mortgage crime, something in there, if you've just not been transparent with us. And we ask you to, so that we can help you. And it's okay. Yeah, if you don't tell me everything, I don't want to be a participant to your legal activities either. I'm okay with that. And so with this particular transaction, the buyer ended up wanting to amend the entire deal. And the good thing is that our contracts are standardized, and they're structured in a way to protect both sides, the seller and the buyer, meaning the buyer has a right to do the assignment within a contract time that they can ask the seller to allow the assignment. And they've got to disclose whether they are signing it to their trust, whether they are signing it to an entity they have an interest in, whether they are signing it for value, and what is that value. And that's my favorite part. I'll leave it there. There's some other things in there too, but that is my favorite part, is that you've got to disclose that, are you assigning this for value? And that's where we get wholesaling. That's where we get the wholesale activity. California doesn't really like that. Department of Real Estate has a list of folks who have been dinged in engaging in real estate activities without a license, and wholesaling is one of those that there's a fine line in being caught with your hands in the cookie jar, and the Department of Real Estate will issue a cease and desist order against you and your entity for engaging in real estate activities without a real estate license. And they are the state agency that is out there to protect consumers from folks who are wholesaling and flipping contracts and trying to scam folks out of their equity and that whole thing, and also protect them from professional real estate agents. They are the governing body. They are the licensing body that oversees issuing licenses to folks like myself. And we've got to go through background checks. We've got to take a state exam. We've got to do continuing education. We've got to continue to meet requirements in order to represent people in selling one of the largest investments, selling and purchasing one of the largest investments that they'll probably make in their lifetime. So all that is great, I think. And for that reason, it really bugs me when I come across real estate agents who are acting as the real buyer, but they have not disclosed. They've not been transparent. And so to an unknowing seller who gets a piece of paperwork, an agent says, hey, I've got a buyer. They're willing to pay X amount. And that agent then uses an LLC or corporation as the buyer, but they have not disclosed to the seller that they themselves are the managing member of that entity, or they are the CEO, COO, CFO, whatever it is of the corporation. They don't disclose the interest they have in the entity buyer. And that is where I have a problem, right? So this is why I say it's important for you all to pay attention and read those forms. Try not to do it yourself unless you can do a FSBO, for sale by owner, and hire an attorney that can scrutinize and review those contracts so you can avoid these potential pitfalls of getting into a contract with someone who's a licensed agent, right? Oftentimes, and then is also acting as a straw buyer for someone else, and they're not disclosing that to you. And that's what's key here is the disclosure and the transparency, that if they are signing, in other words, if they're flipping that contract, I've locked you in. I said I'm going to put a deposit of $500, which always gets me when I get those offers. And folks say they want to put a deposit after they've done their inspection. And I'm like, yeah, not in California, not here, no. Mm-mm. I'm going to open escrow with $1,000 and I'm going to send my money after 7 days after I've done my inspection. Essentially what that is, those are wholesaling techniques and tactics to tie up the contract, and then they're going to flip it to someone else who then they put in their deposit after the person who's bound you by the contract. They're selling that contract or their interest, they're assigning their interest to someone else, and then they gain their money or they get paid during the escrow process. In other words, they lock in the contract for $400,000. They're selling it to an investor for $460,000. So they make a quick $60,000. And that some of that money should be part of the equity that you would receive. But instead, there is a straw buyer here, or there's a wholesaler in the middle acting as if they were intending to buy it, but they have not disclosed that they are actually assigning it. And so the intent there is where they can potentially create issues for themselves. All right. So this one was good. This was a good topic. Let me know if you found any of this information helpful. Drop me a comment. You can text me directly at 323-488-3265. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's our playlist for Ready, Set, Real Estate. Videos are uploaded every week on Wednesdays. If you do want to send me an email, got something for me to review, you want me to take a look at closer, I'm happy to do so. You can email me at lisa@lasuperagent.com, lisa@lasuperagent.com. And if you want to know more about what's going on with me, what I'm creating, workshops, anything, just check out the website at lasuperagent.com. Again, that'll show you send you directly to what's going on with all my creative projects. And if you're looking to be a referral partner, there's a form on there that you can sign up as well. If you're an industry professional and you're looking to add a referral network or expand your referral network or partnership, I'm happy to connect with you, learn more, see if it's a good fit for our clients, and we'll go from there. All right. With that being said, I appreciate you today giving me your attention, especially in this crazy world of social media and competing for attention. I was watching an ad earlier today, and the person said, I was supposed to be successful, but now I spend my day scrolling. Yeah, that's a real thing for some folks, unfortunately. I just heard that the young lady who got addicted to social media at age 12, she's 20 or 22, she won a landmark case against Facebook or Meta, and I believe Google as well. So YouTube, Meta and YouTube, because she developed depression and anxiety as a result of being addicted to social media. And so that definitely should wake some people up to realize how it's important to create a schedule and be intentional when you come on these platforms. For me, here's my intent. I come on to share and I come off. And then when I check in on social media, my go-to is Instagram and YouTube. I will look at some funny videos. And it's funny because I'm now realizing that Instagram almost has become or replaced America's funniest home videos. If you remember, what's his name? Bob Sawyer. That's what it's become now. Is now we're just everybody is now an entertainer. All right. With that being said, we'll see you next week on another information-packed episode. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Ready, Set, Real Estate Podcast with Lisa Gillett, the LA Super Agent. Please like, subscribe, and share LA Super Agent